So today we'll be taking a look at the EHRbase SDK, also called the openEHR SDK, for the lack of other SDKs in the openEHR space. So I have a template with me. It's called the prescription.opt file, and I'm going to show you how to use the EHRbase SDK in order to make a composition out of this. Now this is going to be a detailed tutorial, so you can sit back, get your snacks. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll clone this repository. So I'm just going to clone this to my desktop. Already exists. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna get rid of this, and I'm gonna do the clone again. So we have cloned that. I'm just going to open that in VS Code. So now I have the Java development environment already set up in VS Code. So things like auto completion will work for me. The first thing that we'll do is we'll do a Maven install here. If you would like, you can also do a Maven clean install, but I'm just going to go with the Maven install. So this will download all of the dependencies and compile all of these into jars. So I'm just going to wait for this to finish, and this may take a while. In the meantime, I'm just going to take a look at the openEHR SDK and see all the different features that it has. So it has a client that you can use for doing a lot of the mapping work, AQL query related stuff, and all of this is still in beta. The generator is what we are going to be using today. We are going to be generating a Java class for our template using this generator. So we'll wait for this to build. It's running the tests already, so hopefully it will complete in another 1 minute or so. So let's check out all the steps here. So you can do a clean install, and let me see. Yeah, the usage. So this is how we use the generator jar that's going to be generated. And here we have to provide the OPT file, and we also have to provide the output directory where we want the Java classes to be generated. And you can also name the package whatever you want. And they also have some other configuration that I haven't really checked out. We are just going to be using this. So let's wait for this to build. So the build took quite a while. It's done right now, but actually we are only going to be using the generator jar. So what you can do is you can cd into the generator, and you can do mvn clean install here instead of doing that for the entire SDK. So this will compile much faster, and you will get your jar. So once you get your jar, we have it right here, generator 1.5.0. So I'm just going to cd back a little bit. So once you have this, you just do Java jar generator target and the name of the jar that got generated. Here in this case it's generator 1.5.0 jar. And then you take a look at the documentation that we have at openEHR SDK's GitHub. So you specify an OPT, you specify the output format and the package name. So what we are going to be doing is generating a Java class from this particular OPT that we had on our desktop. So the OPT is going to be opt-prescription.opt. And before I specify the out path, I want to create a Java project on my desktop. So I'm just going to right click and click on create Maven project. I'm just going to go with the quick start, and com.example, that's fine. Demo is fine. So I'm just going to put this on my desktop, and I'm just going to name it something. Let's say prescription Java. Okay, and just create that. So that created a folder, and if we select this folder, it will create a Maven project inside this folder. So that is asking us for a few values. Let's just say yes, and let's open that. So here you can see that it has created our src main and the app.java file as you would expect of a normal Maven project. And if you do F5 here, this will just start compiling this and it will run, and we got hello world. So after this, what we need to do is we need to generate some of these Java files into this directory. So let's do that. Let's go back to our shell, and the output directory -- prescription Java, and let's go inside demo. Let's go inside src, and let's go inside main, inside Java. Okay. Once you're here, you know that the com.example.com starts. So let's just stick to this directory, and you also need to give it a package name, and we are just going to go with com.example. So once you do that, it just returns, and you go back to your other project, and you can see that you have a folder here with a lot of Java classes. Now all of these are erroring out. Don't worry, because we haven't yet installed the dependencies for any of this, so it will tell you that it cannot be resolved, but we will fix that right now. So go back to the GitHub here for the openEHR SDK, and then open up the Jetpack link that they have mentioned. So you first need to add this as a repository in your pom.xml. So let's do that right here. And under the dependencies, let's also add our openEHR SDK. So here we also need to mention a tag. So let's just go with 1.5.0 and just save this, and always reload. Okay, just gonna make this a little bigger for you to see. So here in this, if you usually click on get it here, for some reason it says AQL. That's not what you want. That'll only import the AQL package. So you want the whole openEHR SDK as an artifact ID. So once this is done, let's go back to our app.java, and you can see that all of this is not erroring out right now. So let's just execute this. I'm just pressing F5 to execute. Since we have a Maven, that will automatically figure everything out. So what we can do now is that let's first take a look at the prescription composition that it has created automatically. You can see that it's created this prescription composition class for us, and under it has a lot of these details, and this is coming directly from the template. So what we'll do now is we will actually go ahead and create an instance of this composition. So to create an instance of the composition, we first have to go inside our app.java and then make a new prescription composition. And let's just set this to another variable, prescription composition. All right. So I'm just going to remove this for now and make this a little bit smaller. So the composition, we have created it, but we have not yet really done anything with it. So here you can see that it has a lot of getters and setters that you can just play around with. So let's say you just want to set language. That's how you do it. And you need to import the language English. So this is how you actually create a composition and play around with it. I'll get to actually putting in complex data here, but before that, let's see how we can compile this into a JSON. Let's say canonical JSON. So the openEHR SDK supports a lot of formats, XML, JSON, as well as the flat formats, but we're going to start with our JSON parser. So for that, we need something called as the template provider class, and I am just going to show you how to do that by copying and pasting something that I've already created. Yes, I know that this is not the best way to teach, but it's a very it's a very dry topic. You can just actually copy and paste this. Prescription template provider.java, and I'm just gonna paste whatever I had from the other one. So yeah, this is erroring out because package com.example. Yep, just going to put it inside com.example. Yeah, now that everything is fine. So I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing here really. So we also need to add this OPT file to our project so that this template provider class can get access to our OPT. That's all that this thing does. It just given a template ID, it gets the OPT, converts it to a template, and then gives it back. So that's all we are doing here. And before we do anything, we need to go inside the main folder, add a folder called resources, and we need to copy our prescription into this resources folder. So I'm just going to do that quickly. So into our resources folder. Okay. If you don't do this properly, you will get an error in this particular class when it's trying to read the stream. So let's go back to our app. Now, the first thing that we have to do is convert this composition. Although we haven't set much, let's try to convert this into canonical JSON. So first, let's create a new provider. So we are going to create a new prescription template provider, and we'll set that as template provider equals new prescription template provider. Now the reason we need this provider is because the unflattener needs this. So the unflattener is kind of another object that takes in the composition and then converts it to the reference model class. So let's just do that. Unflattener you can see it takes in a template provider, so we are going to pass in our provider right here. So once we have this unflat variable, let's use this to actually unflatten our composition. So we can do this, and let's store this in a RM object. So once we have this RM object, we can actually use these serializers that are provided with the EHRbase SDK. So we are going to be using the canonical JSON. So this is a class. So I'm just going to make it JSON canonical JSON. So let's print this out. System.out.print JSON.marshal the RM object that we just created. So if we run this, we should technically get a canonical JSON out on our terminal that looks something with just the language. So let's try that out. And you can see that we have a lot of details because the canonical JSON is usually pretty detailed. We have the code phrase for language, and it is set to English. And I think the category and other things are automatically being populated, which is pretty cool as well. So now let's actually set a medication. So this is a prescription template. So let's actually set a medication inside this. Now the medication in this case is a little complicated. So the thing is, we have our template, but we have a class inside this, and we have another class inside this, and that the nesting kind of makes things seem a little complicated. But if you take a look at the code, it's actually pretty simple and straightforward. So if you take a look at the type definition of the prescription composition, you see that it has a lot of these getters and setters. The thing that we are looking for is the medication order. So what you do is you just go inside the medication order and keep checking what that has until it resolves to something that you can actually set. So that's what we are basically going to do. So I'm coming back to the composition, and I'm just going to give some space here. So I'm going to do composition.set to see all the things that are available. So I want to set a medication order, but we don't have this medication order object yet. So I'm just going to check what type this is. It's medication order instruction type. So let's create that. So medication order instruction, medication order. order instruction. Now, the medication order instruction is also not a primitive type. We need to go inside and check what this has. So again, let's do the same thing. Medication order instruction dot set. Let's see what we have. We have medication activity. That's probably what we want. So again, the medication order activity also needs to be created. Medication order activity, that looks like it. Let's just check it for sanity purposes. Just hover over this. Okay, this is not working. Okay. Okay. So it's a list of medication order, medication activity. Okay, cool. So we need this to be a list. So what we'll do is we'll create something called activity and new medication order activity, and let's see what this has. So here again we have something called medication description. So let's create a new medication description. So it seems like there is a lot of repetition, but if you're actually creating a final application that takes in an input from a front end, for example, you only need to really do this once. So it's not that bad. So medication description, medication description. Yeah. So under the medication description, let's again see set. And finally, we get the name of the medication. So set name of medication value. So let's do that. Paracetamol 500 mg. Okay. Now again, medication activity is not really there because we named it activity. That's cool. And that is erroring out. That's because, okay, it wants a list of activity and we just gave it one activity. Okay, cool. Let's just use the collections helper function. Collections dot singleton list and convert this activity into an array. So we've done that. Now let's run this program again and see how the canonical JSON looks like. Okay, there's a compilation error. Let's see. Okay, forgot to put a colon here. Okay, let's run this again. Okay, and we have our canonical JSON right here, and you can see, paracetamol 500 mg is a DV text. That's the name of the medication, and similarly, you can populate other things in the class just by doing this. Although it seems a little tedious, it actually, you only have to do it once if you're really using this in your backend service, for example. And I've showed you how to do it as canonical JSON, but to convert it as canonical XML, it's pretty much the same thing. In fact, I'm just going to show you canonical XML. Just change this to canonical XML, and you just do the same thing. Let's see how that looks like. And there you have your XML document, which is the canonical XML that you can post directly to a REST endpoint. Now, the openEHR REST API, the openEHR SDK also has a lot of other methods that you can use to directly communicate with the CDR. You don't necessarily have to output it somewhere and then post it using another thing. They have all of these cool helper functions. So you can take a look at them. You can, again, go to their documentation, and you'll see that all of that is pretty much mentioned here. And the other thing is you can just take a look at the documentation here, which is the EHRbase.readthedocs.io. This is a lot more current than this. So before I finish the video, I thought I will also tell you that the EHRbase SDK does a lot more than just convert to canonical XML and JSON. It also supports the flat format. And if you want to convert to and from flat format into composition objects, you can use this as well. And their documentation for that is not perfect. So what I would suggest is that you take a look at all the tests. So when they've written and covered almost all of the features on this with tests. So just search for a particular test and then take a look at how something works. So let's say there is flat JSON. So we know that flat JSON is a thing. So let's just search this in this repository. And you see here that they are doing something like, they are doing that in a test, I'm pretty sure. So flat JSON. Okay. So first you need to create a flat JSON, and you need a template provider. So let's just work on that. So we already have a template provider. So instead of all of this, let's just create a new flat provider, flat JSON. Is that how it's spelled? No, it's just flat JSON. Flat JSON equals new flat JSON provider, and the template provider is provider. So flat. Okay. Mismatch. Oh, okay. Obviously, yeah, that's a flat JSON. Flat JSON new. Okay. So you do something called build flat JSON. I'm not sure if this is the current one, but yeah. So you can just do build flat JSON, and the format will be flat format dot sim std sdt, sorry, flat format, and the template ID will be prescription. This doesn't really matter for us because, okay, cannot convert. Okay, that's because this is a flat format now, flat JSON. So this doesn't really matter for us because the prescription template provider is going to return this no matter what they ask. But if you have another template provider that's a little bit more sophisticated, you need to get the ID and give it correctly. So let's check out what they do next. It's flat JSON.unmarshal. That's fine. Can we do a marshal? So composition. Okay, flat JSON.marshal. All right. It seems like they need to convert this to a composition class first. So let's see. This is a composition. I hope we can directly. Does this implement the composition class? Composition entity, which I don't think is the same as the composition class. It's a locatable. Okay. I'm not sure if I can pass this in directly, so let's just try it out. So we have our flat JSON. Okay, so flat dot marshal the RM object. Okay, cool. That's just the RM object, which is right here. All right, that works, I guess. So let's just print this and see if that works. All right, we're not using this. It's fine. So let's just run this. Oh wow, that actually works. Okay, so yeah, this is how you do it in flat. So that's it for the EHRbase SDK. Hope you learned something out of this, and there is a lot more to explore. My Java is not that great. I just tried to show you around all that is possible. So I'm pretty sure you can figure it out better than I do. So just take a look at it. This is one way where you can take templates and play with them and create compositions. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.